everyone, and a warm welcome to Yarning with Bee. I'm Beatrice, and this is episode 3 of Bee's Knits. It's a really windy spring day outside, so I hope you don't hear the wind too loudly in my microphone. I hope this works out. Right, so I'm going to start out not with what I'm wearing, but with my finished posset cardigan. And I know that I have shown this in the 2 previous episodes, so I'm not going to linger on it for very long, but it is done, and I'm very happy with that. It turned out very well, I think. I'm happy with the colors, with the striping, with the length. I made it quite a bit longer, I think I've said, than what the pattern suggests, and also the sleeves, since I have fairly long arms. And yeah, I'm really happy with that. I did feel like I was playing yarn chicken a little bit towards the end, but all of the colors lasted for the entirety of the cardigan. I have less than 1 gram left in some of the shades, so we'll see if there's actually enough to make anything with the scraps, or if I just have to keep them as a spare yarn or something. But at least it lasted for the whole cardigan. Something I did notice in the end when I was blocking it was that it grew quite a bit in width as well as in length. In length, I was, sort of fine with it. I was counting on it to get a little bit longer, but in width, perhaps not so much, especially since it's garter stitch. So I think I have learned that I need to block my tension squares. A lesson that was also reinforced very well with the next project that I made, and which I'm going to tell you about now, which is what I'm wearing. This is actually a test knit that I started after the last episode was aired and finished within like 3 weeks. It was so much fun. I mean, I've been longing to make a cabled sweater for a while, and then this test knit came up and it was just the perfect thing to make. This is called the Arctic Frost sweater, and it's by designer Becca Knits. I'll link it in the comments. And it has this really lovely cable work on the front. It has a Celtic braid along the sleeve, and the pattern actually lets you choose, so you can make the Celtic braid all the way down, or you can make like a thick cable for half the sleeve and just have the Celtic braid up there. I really like the Celtic braid, so I kept it for the whole length of the sleeve, and it has a double moss stitch in the non-cabled sections. It's raglan shape with these small cables in the raglan, which is also really lovely, and it has a neckline which is sewn down, so it's double, it's warm and cozy, and an Italian bind off in the cuffs and in the body, which was a new technique for me, the Italian bind off. I know it's all the rage right now, so yep, I'm on that train now as well. What else? The recommended needle size for this was 5mm needles. I met gauge at 4.5mm needles and 4mm needles for the ribbing. So partly I think because of the size of the needles and the pattern, which was super, super fun, I just breezed through this. The pattern will be out towards the middle end of April-ish, and I just highly recommend it. Then a little bit about the yarn that I used for this. It's a worsted weight yarn, so you can use like any worsted weight yarn, of course, for the sweater. I found this lovely Malabrigo Rios in the colorway Capricorn. I'm not sure it shows up very well on camera, but it actually has beautiful shifting color in everything from, I mean, brown is the main color, and then it has some green and some pink and some purple and yellow, and it's just very, very lovely and shifting. It was also an absolute joy to work with. It was soft and springy, it didn't split, and I just had, I felt like, oh, this is going to be my new favorite yarn for sure. And then I blocked my sweater, and it's still okay. No, it's not okay. I'm very happy with it, so it's good, but it took a long time after I soaked this to get it to regain its shape, and I was really quite upset because the pattern and the original result was just so perfect, and I just wanted to relax the stitches a little bit to get that final touch done, and the sweater grew enormously, and I really had to work with it a lot to get it to regain its shape, and it's still gained a lot in length. In the stomach, I think, like I showed you before, it's still fine, and also in the sleeves it's fine, but I've also kind of pushed it up a little to get it to sit well. So all in all, it was fine, but it has lost some of that springiness. It's a little bit loose in the fabric in a way that it wasn't before I blocked it. And I have done some Googling, of course, as you do, and understood that I should have known this before, because the Malabrigo Rios is a merino superwash yarn. Superwash apparently grows a lot when you block it. So, same lesson learned once again. I need to start blocking my tension squares, even though it's boring to do so. I will do better, because it's a shame. I mean, in this case, and also in the posset cardigan case, it worked out very well, and I have some nice results that I'm going to enjoy a lot. It's not a problem, but I can definitely see it be a problem with other garments if I'm not careful. And like for this one, for example, I did go down a size from the original size that I was supposed to test knit, and I'm very happy that I did, because it also grew in width, and I didn't want too much positive ease, because I just didn't want an oversized garment, and I want the cables to show nicely in the finished result. So there's that. I ended up with a little bit more than 80 grams of leftover yarn from this. I'll probably make a cabled hat out of it, which is going to be nice and matchy. I won't block the hat. It'll just have to be what it is. However, as I'm sure maybe you're not thinking it, because if you look out the window, it looks like it could be anything from November to February, even though we're already in the middle of March. But these are really kind of autumn colors. I just fell in love with the color shifts in this yarn, so I couldn't resist it. And the same with my posset cardigan, it's very much autumn colors. So even though I'm wearing both of these sweaters now to enjoy the finished results, the season is a little bit wrong. So I'm probably going to put them away for a few months and take them out again in later. And I actually have yet another sort of fall wear type of garment in progress to show you today. I've been working on it for quite a few months. I bring it out every now and then. I don't work on it continuously for a few different reasons, which I think will become apparent. But this is the Jenny jacket by Petite Knit. Again, Petite Knit, all the rage. I had to get on that train sooner or later. And even though this episode is titled Cables and Hand-Dyed Yarn, I really only have the one cables garment to show you, but this is kind of cable-y, and it does feature hand-dyed yarn. So This is a smock pattern. So it's 2x2 ribbing, and then you gather up like 6 stitch sections and wrap them with yarn to get this effect. It's actually really quite fun, and I think the result is really elegant, but it takes a lot of time, a lot more time than I anticipated when I started this pattern. Also, to meet gauge, because I'm not using the recommended yarn, I am using 3mm needles, and it's going to be, I mean, it's quite, I don't know, oversized maybe. I'm definitely going to use this as outerwear, like a fall jacket or a spring jacket for that matter, but it's not going to be done by this spring. And also it's going to be suitable for outerwear because the yarn that I'm using is quite rough, it's quite scratchy. It's hand-dyed yarn. I bought it at a harvest festival actually in September or October last year. And it's a local yarn dyer. And I'm using 1 strand of wool, it's just 100% wool, quite rough, and 1 strand of a variegated mohair, which gives a really nice effect. The mohair, like I said, it's variegated, so you have these little splashes of color that of course don't show up very well on camera, but little splashes of orange, little splashes of green, white, what have you. I did, however, a couple of weeks ago realize that I didn't have enough yarn. And not having enough yarn when you've bought yarn from a small scale independent yarn dyer is a really, really bad idea. So I contacted her, and unfortunately she didn't stock the mohair anymore and was not going to make more batches of the wool in this shade for several months because she had other things in the pipe. Then to alternative solutions. My solution is that I'm going to make the sleeves and the trimmings in a contrasting color. I think that the result can be pretty cool. And now as I look at the yarn that I bought for this, I realize that it's not altogether dissimilar from the color that I'm wearing. So to make things a little easier for myself, in case I need another batch of yarn to finish this, because like I said, no, I don't think I said that actually, but not only does it take a while, but it also swallows a lot of yarn doing this smock knitting. And it's also, there's like I'm not gonna say warning text, but there's like a little suggestion that it would be prudent to make it a little longer than you might otherwise have, because when you block smock knitting, it's going to become wider and shorter. So it's good to have some margins there. So I bought Rauma garn. It's just their regular 2-strand gammelserie. This is really easy to get hold of in Sweden. It's a Norwegian brand. It really does look the same, doesn't it? But only from a distance. This yarn is a lot more variegated, and this is more solid color. And this is just 100% Norwegian wool. And I'm going to knit this together with silk mohair from Yagi. This is hand dyed, but it's a more large scale hand dye, so I feel fairly confident that I will be able to get, maybe not from the same dye lot, but at least similar, combination if I need to get more yarn. So my intention is, and my hope is, that these colors together are going to form a nice contrast, but not too drastic of a contrast with the colors that I already have in my beige. So I'm going to keep knitting this for a number of more centimeters until I reach a length that I want. Then I'm going to make the body ribbing in my contrasting yarn. I'm going to make the button band and neckline in my contrasting yarn, and also the sleeves. And then I'll make the ribbing for the cuffs in my original shades to hopefully bring the garment together. That's the plan. I've never done anything like this before, so I hope it's going to work, especially since I've put a lot of time and by now also a lot of money into this Jenny jacket. I really hope that the result will be something that I can happily wear for many, many years to come. So yeah, that's my cabled section of this episode, and also part of the hand-dyed section. And like I was kind of on to before, this is still fall colors or browns. It doesn't look forward to the lovely seasons to come, the flowers, the green, the trees. So I'm gonna move on to that now. Right, so a few weeks ago now, I think it was the very beginning of March, there was the Fårfest, or the sheep party. I'm gonna have to call it the sheep festival, I think, because the sheep party sounds weird, but that's what it's called. About 2.5 hours north of where I live in Sweden. It's an annual wonderful festival which combines yarn sellers with more actual sheep farming practices. That's a part of the festival which I don't generally frequent because I don't have sheep, and also because the yarn seller section is plentiful, and if I take the train there for just for one day, I'm going to need all of the time available to me to look at the wonderful different vendors and what they have to offer. So I have I went absolutely bananas during the sheep festival this year, and I bought a lot of yarn. So I'm just going to show you some highlights of the hand-dyed yarn that I found, and some sort of not entirely well formulated knitting plans, but sort of knitting plans for the spring and summer. First of all, I bought these gorgeous skeins. This is from a dyer called Moods of Color, in a colorway that they call I Had a Dream, which is cute, I think. This is 75% merino and 25% nylon. So, I mean, potentially it would be, it would make a nice sock yarn, but it's so pretty. And I do want to have it as a garment. But also I didn't want to buy like, I don't know, 6 skeins of this. I bought 3, and I'm going to make a t-shirt with it. I haven't found a pattern yet. I'm going to browse Ravelry a little bit. But I think I have some contenders for patterns that would work. It would also make a really nice sleeveless top, but for me to wear things in summer, I also want to make sure that I don't burn my shoulders. So I'm going to make something with sleeves. A little t-shirt. And this has, I mean, what color doesn't this feature? But it's still on the lighter side, and it has a lot of pinks, orangey, beige, mixed in with the green and the blue. I think it's just gonna make me really happy, both to work with and to wear this. So looking forward to that. And then to really get the spring feeling going, and I do love green, even though green is not my best color, I found this. And it's just so happy making. It looks like the trees just springing into bloom in the earliest weeks of April. And this is, let's see what this is. They call it päronströssel, which would be Pear Sprinkles. which is also a really fun name, I think. And this is a fairly local yarn dyer from where I'm based. It's in the archipelago, north of where I am, called Vinterverkstan. And this is 100% wool, blue-faced Leicester, it even specifies on the skeins. They only had 5 skeins left, so in this color, in this shade. So I bought all of them, and I'm aware that I'm going to have to adapt my choice of garment a little bit to the amount of yarn that I have. But I have a vision, which is that it's going to make a really nice summer cardigan. It doesn't have to be very long, and also I'm thinking 3/4 sleeves for it. Yeah, and I think I want to make it a cardigan, not a sweater, because summer you might want to wear it open if it's not that cold and so on. So that's actually, this yarn is so up my alley when it comes to shades that I might just want to look at it for a really long time before I start working on it. And finally, I bought a shawl yarn, also greenish silver. And I'm really excited to make, I found a good, this one I have a pattern for already. I bought the pattern from the woman who dyes the yarn. And this is merino, 50% merino and 50% silk. And what makes me excited about this is that the pattern has beads in it. So I'm going to knit beads into the lace edging of the shawl, which I've never done before. So that's a new challenge, which I'm looking forward to learning more about. And yeah, I'm not going to show you the pattern now anyway, because I have no clue when I'm going to start working on this, and I will rather show you in a later episode when I cast on. Right, I think those were my highlights from the sheep party. It's really nice, like when you stand in line before you get in, there are sheep outside in their little trailers, kind of saying welcome. And on the train up from Gothenburg, early that morning, I went on a Friday, literally the entire train, which probably most days is not very well frequented, is just full of knitters. It's such a joy, and people, they just sit there knitting, mostly ladies. I mean, let's be honest, a few men, but mostly ladies, just sit there knitting, and everyone is so nice and supportive and asking each other about their different projects. And yeah, it's really a boost of energy and a really, really fun event, which I haven't been to since before COVID. So I was extra excited this year, and it certainly lived up to my expectations as well. Finally, I am going to share with you, because if you watch my book segments as well, in my last episode 2 of Bee's Books, I talked about the national book sale that's on in Sweden every year at the end of February, beginning of March. And this year I found a fantastic book about knitting socks. Sometimes they have really good knitting books in this national book sale. So I bought this book, 35 Socks by Maja Karlsson. And I just want to say that I'm not crazy showing you a new book about knitting or crochet every time. I don't buy a new one every month. But the last one, in my defense, was a gift, and this one was on sale. So really, neither of them count as new purchases. Let's go with that. And this book has, as the title suggests, 35 sock patterns. They're all beautifully laid out at the back of the book. And I fell in love with so many of these patterns. It's by Maja Karlsson. who, I mean, she's a really talented knitwear designer, and if you remember, or if you watched my very first episode, I spoke about the Christmas mittens for 2023. Those were designed by her as well. And I fell in love with so many of these sock patterns that I have decided that I want to make them all. And I'm not sure if if I'm actually going to get through it, or if it's like a feasible project. And it's definitely going to take a long time because I'm not going to make them all at once, obviously. But they're so pretty. And I want to learn more about knitting socks. And she incorporates, as you can see, different types of stranded color work, even though it doesn't really show, but there are lots of different types of heels. There are high socks and low socks and more slipper type things. There are spring and summer socks and winter socks and the whole shebang. So I have already started with the first pair. I'm not starting from the beginning of the book, so I'm gonna make these ones first. They're called Fortuna, like a wheel, not the Wheel of Fortune, but like the Lady Fortune, the goddess of fortune, or something like that. And I think they are, I'm gonna find, there's a good picture of them here, of the cuff. So they don't have ribbing at the top. They have garter stitch at the top, and then a section of stranded color work, and then ribbing. And then they also have ribbing across the top of the foot, which will hopefully make them sit really well and not like fall down, even though they don't have ribbing at the top. So I got overly excited, as I am wont to do, and went out and bought yarn for this. When I was on a business trip, I looked up close by yarn stores so I could get started right away. And also, of course, bought new double pointed needles in size 3 because I don't already have 8 pairs of those, but I didn't have any in my suitcase, so now I have another pair. I'm using the recommended yarn, which is Järbos mellanraggi. It is, I believe, I forgot the tags now, but I believe it's 75% superwash wool and 25% polyamide. So it's a good solid sock yarn. And I chose this slightly variegated turquoise, dark turquoise, with a white as a contrast color. And I only started this like the day before yesterday. But I'm really liking the way that it's knitting up. I do prefer double pointed needles when I make socks to using the magic loop technique. I don't know, I just keep better track of the stitches when I have them on 4 DPNs rather than on a big long cable. Yes, so we'll see how that progresses. And I am excited for several of the socks. But as you can see, I mean, I have so many knitting plans now. I don't know where I'm going to start, and I might pull myself into a twist trying to do too many things at once. But you know, it's a labor of love, so at least I'm having fun with it. Right, and I actually think that's everything I have to show you today. Thank you so very much for watching, and happy knitting, and I will see you in a couple of weeks. Bye!